The main reason I wrote Warlords for the BBC Micro because a friend of mine, Vertvik from the excellent Tenpence Arcade podcast, kept saying how much he enjoyed it and how much the team had played it at one of the revival events. They were also excellent. I actually had to come up with a new hardware design for the BBC Micro, a new adapter to let you plug in 2 pairs of Atari paddles and have 4 fire buttons, as the BBC Micro normally only has 2. This game is actually like Circus or Ripcord in that it loads the arcade ROMs, in this case into sideways RAM, and then patches them to call my code to find out things like where the paddles are, instead of using the original code. The idea is that the BBC disc wouldn't contain the arcade ROMs, and that the player themselves, providing they have a legal copy, could put them on the disc and the game would then work. Like quite a lot of early arcade games, the actual hardware is set up so the screen is either 28 or 30 by 32 characters, with what's left of the 32 by 32 setting sprite X, Y and rotation or image. This means every frame I have to go through every character on the screen to see if, for example, a piece of wall has been destroyed by the ball or some text has been added or removed, and update the screen accordingly. And then have to do the same thing for the sprites. Check their X, Y, image and rotation or mirroring, flipping, whatever the hardware supports, and update the sprite accordingly. Some of the early hardware like this game I think supports 16 sprites, that's 16 by 16 pixel sprites. Same as the Atari Centipede, which was one of the reasons I started working on Centipede. As I was playtesting Warlords, I noticed that the fire button wasn't very responsive. Then when I had a look at the code, it actually has about a 4 or 5 frame deliberate delay on the fire button taking effect. I don't know if this is some kind of debounce mechanism or if they're just trying to take more of your 10p's. The ROM actually supports 2 modes of play, either upright, which is 2-player and black and white, or cocktail, which is 4-player and is the version that the BBC Micro plays. There are a couple of differences in that the cocktail version actually has all of the text upside down because it has to draw it either way up, and I don't know why they chose the opposite to the upright, but they did. And of course the instructions are printed upside down and the right way up so that people all the way around the 4-player table can see what's going on. I actually have a set of Warlords ROMs from my days back in the arcade and in the arcade suppliers, so if you ever see me at a show, I always take some Atari paddles with me. Come over and have a game. It's a fun 2-player game, but even better with 4, and probably the most fun 4-player game on the BBC Micro. In theory I could have displayed the 4 bases in 4 different colours as they are in the arcade game, but it would have meant an interrupt every scan line for the first 4 or 5 rows and then again at the bottom, and there just isn't enough CPU cycles to spare with having to scan all the characters and all the sprites every frame. Although I guess I could have made them 1 red and 1 yellow, so diagonal reds and yellows maybe. You play Warlords by using your shield to defend your castle, but you can also catch the fireball with the fire button, but while you're holding it, little flames shoot off towards your walls and slowly damage your walls, so you shouldn't hold on to it for too long. But then when you let go, it fires quickly towards the direction away from the corner of your screen. I can't remember how it decides when the game's over in a multiplayer game. Maybe I'll have to go and try it. Anyway, the longer the game goes on, the more fireballs get added into the game, meaning more sprites for me to draw.